we are not gonna record a live spiritual direction session. That's what we not going.
That's not what we gonna do. I ain't mad at you. We'll save it for another time.
That's what we not gonna do. Got me all out here crying and stuff. We is not doing that today, Kyndra. Let it be known.
We're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it, Dasha.
We're gonna let spirit lead, but we're not doing that.
January 1 is on.
Welcome to Theology Talk, you like or not. I am your creator, curator, investigator, sometime instigator, but definitely a liberator, Rev the Saint. And for a few moments of your sacred time in this sacred space, I invite you to tune in as we talk good, talk back, talk loud, talk smack, talk life and love, talk true, talk music, talk art, talk faith, hope, peace, joy, talk justice, talk God. Let's talk.
Welcome to yet another episode of Theology Talks, you like or not. I am your host, Rev the Saint, and I am so excited to be sitting with Kyndra from KYND Consulting. We're letting the spirit flow. We're gonna get to know her and her work. Let's just get into it. Yes, what's up, Kyndra? How are you? Where are you? Tell the people what's going on with you.
Yo, it has been swift transitions in the middle of the but I'm grateful. I am excited to have relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina as of last Tuesday from New York City, Harlem specifically, in terms of neighborhood. And I am, like so many people, going full stop with no limits on myself with my own company. So living the entrepreneurial life, so you know how that is, Dasha. Being able to create your own schedule is a blessing and a gift. And you also have to get your boss to discipline you. And it can be difficult sometimes because you're your boss and your employee all at the same time.
That's right.
So yeah, I am living that life and excited to be in a new space, a larger space, as well as with more family because I'm from Charlotte. And so everybody's here, my mom, dad, my sister, aunts and uncles, cousins. So it's definitely a space of nurturing that I found myself needing. So I'm glad that I'm here. Yeah.
What made you make the move, if you don't mind me asking? What made you go back home?
That's a great question. Literally, I had no desire or thought to move back home the beginning of 2020. Actually, I got terminated from my last workspace, my last assignment, and it created an opportunity for me to begin working for myself. And in addition to going through that transition, Spirit was just like, the same thing you're doing here, you can do in Charlotte, where it's more community. Again, where it's more nurturing. And I also just felt led by my ancestors to come back to Charlotte. I always used to tell people, I don't see me moving back south or home till later on down the line. And I even wrote it in a journal, like 20 years from now. I guess God must have been like 20 months from that time that I wrote. So I'm super excited to see what this move creates and what it shifts and what it does for not only myself, but for my family and the people that I am committed and called to serve during this time.
Wow. Already in my stuff, but
look, I had to free myself up. I had to free myself up because you touched on, the question touched on something that I've been challenged with, like saying out loud, because I would call it a forced transition or an abrupt ending, but I was fired, and being okay with that and knowing that, and still it was no grounds for termination written in the letter, but grateful for having had the opportunity to serve, and grateful for the partnerships that I was able to form and the relationships during my service inside the church, and also having my eyes open to the toxicity that can be in our religious institutions, that can go unaddressed if the church system, which typically does, operates like a family system, and trauma has been normalized within that system. It is easy to allow people to continue to do whatever they do the way that they do it, no matter the hurt and harm that is caused. So that I'm still there, walking in my truth and being unashamed and not embarrassed to talk about it, because I could think so many people who are committed to walking in truth, authenticity, and integrity can find themselves in this position. So I know I'm not the only one, and I know I'm not the first one, and I know I won't be the last one.
That's key in the knowing. I'm some of the things that's coming up for me. I'm wondering, what was that process like for you? You said it came abruptly. Did you grieve? So what did that grieve period look like for you, knowing this was happening in the space that you were serving?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a great question. You know, I honestly didn't see it until nearing the end. And it's interesting because the way that spirit can show up in religious spaces may not be the thing that is most comfortable for religious leaders, including myself, because I would say that God, around May through June, really started sitting on me in really heavy ways, where I don't know if you've ever experienced, Dasha, the prophetic gift, or the gift of discernment, or the gift of clairvoyance, and messages are passed on to you, and you are directed to give them to somebody else. That was my experience, and I will continue to be obedient to God. And of course, I didn't realize the messages that God was giving me to pass along would get me to a place of termination, but I will stay committed to obedience, because my obedience, even though it got me into this forced transition, it's opened up such a path for limitless creation, that I am continuing to grieve where I came from, but also honoring the excitement and the joy to be able to co-create along with spirit with no parameters. I think that oftentimes for those of us that are serving in religious institutions, and for those of us that are parishioners or congregants that sit in the pews, it can be so easy, given how religious systems are structured, to see the spiritual leader as the deity, to see the edifice as the deity, when it is only an illusion. And I believe that spirit had to do what spirit did in my life to take the scales off of my eyes, because there was a level of naivete that I walked into ministry with, that I left not being naive anymore. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Look, you got me talking, Dasha. My Lord. My Lord.
I always have to take deep. Listen, I rarely bring water to the interview. I said, I'm going to be with Kyndra. I'm going to have to take some deep breath, and I'm going to make sure I have some water.
Got to.
Let me sit.
I would sit with you.
Oh my. Take the blinders off, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
The question that arose in me as I heard you speaking about church leadership and church in general, and what you have been and maybe still processing for yourself. How do you re-enter those religious spaces? Do you leave the church behind? Where are you in your relationship with the church currently?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a great question. I am ordained by Alliance of Baptists, which is an incredible denomination to be a part of that does the work of social justice and the work of anti-racism in some really beautiful ways. And because I'm connected to that body, it gives me hope. In terms of my relationship with the church, I would still say that it is still one of great significance. Being raised in a Black church here in Charlotte, North Carolina, that was chartered by my great grandmother, Maggie Cochran. So to come from that root, I don't think that there is any way that I would ever sever ties with the church. What I do believe this shift, in terms of 2020 is bringing up cosmically, spiritually, is for us to create anew. So I would definitely pastor again if I am going into somebody else's institution. But I believe where God is calling me and so many other spiritual leaders is to create something that has not been created yet. Is to forge a path that has not been forged yet. It may not be a church, but it could be something else. But how do we create something that's no longer tied to the shadow part of church? Because our churches have so many shadow parts. Some churches are honest about it, other churches are not. And I would say that this moves beyond the church into religious institutions in general, whether it's a mosque or a synagogue or a temple. And I believe that the shadow part comes from unaddressed trauma within our personal lives that we take into our institutions that we lead. If you have a spiritual leader, including myself, who is not intentional about their own healing, those shadows will then be transferred to the people that we serve. We will begin to create our religious system like our family system and bring the dysfunction that we internalize from our family system into the religious institution.
Kyndra!
So so what is required at this time is for us to heal. That's the answer. That's what I've been doing, is healing. I have been isolated from a whole community of religious leaders at my former institution. I'm talking about not crickets since June. Ain't heard from nobody. And you know what? At the same time, I am encouraged and persuaded to continue to follow the teachings of Jesus.
Listen.
Listen. Woo, your treatment of me can't stop me from rocking with the church, but it will make me more clear about the spaces that I'm walking into, because we all navigate shadow and light.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Ashe. This is going to be aired in 2021, but we're actually at the end of 2020 when we're filming this. And one of my work this particular month, really these past 2 months, have been shadow work. My God. And when you said the shadow of the church, it was like, man, the work of the church to work on its shadow side. I think we're all being called to work on some of our shadow side so that we can really walk into whatever the new is, rather it is the new way of doing church, the new way of doing community, the new way of how we are forming our families and teaching our babies.
Yeah.
My God, that was, man.
Yeah.
Kyndra, I didn't warn the audience. Listen, I apologize. I should have warned y'all. I can't sit in my seat.
Oh my God.
I can't even sit in my chair sometimes when I hear you. I never catch your Monday mornings on Facebook Live when it's happening. I always catch it in the middle of the week. But I literally have to grasp on my table because I know you're about to just pour down something on me in the right time. And you,
Ashe.
I'm gonna tell y'all who are watching to do what Kyndra often tells me to do. Take a breath.
Look.
Woo. My God, if you have never done some shadow work for yourself, go do that work. Sit with yourself, and things will start coming up. And as they come up, just pray. Just pray. Let them come up. Write about it. Look back at it. Man, that work is so very necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you are in a season of really, would you call it a break? What would you, if you are to put a word to this season that you are in, what would that word or phrase be as you are defining it for yourself?
The first phrase that comes to mind is that this has been a season of dismantling and discovery. A season of dismantling and discovery. A season of dismantling for me, my the ways that I place the church as an institution, and spiritual leaders outside of myself on a pedestal that they don't belong on. Dismantling the rose-colored glasses that I walked into ministry with. Because if we're honest, Trump is only a manifestation of who we are as a collective. And if we're honest about it even more, many of us in our Black churches have Trumps leading us. We do. Can we be honest about it? He is only a symptom of so many other leaders that struggle with narcissism in our church communities, in our spiritual communities. And narcissism only comes from unhealed trauma, unhealed wounding. When you have spiritual leaders that can't be told anything, that move by impulse, that is all a trigger of trauma. That has nothing to do with me. So a part of my dismantling has been to not take it personal, which is difficult, to not take it personally, because people, if they are impacted by trauma and their nervous system is activated by something that has happened, you do what you need to do to protect yourself. Whether that's fire somebody, whether that's curse somebody out, whatever it may be. And I cannot take it personally. I just can't. But it's definitely been a season of dismantling and discovery. Discovering my own, and I didn't recognize until I moved out of the church, the gifting that I have.
Wow.
The anointing that I have. The capacity to create nothing and turn it into something. You know, when I think about the work that I did as a founding executive director of the Hope Center, which is a free mental health facility in Harlem. It's a tremendous facility with some beautiful programming that happens out of it. But being able to see that and now translate what I was equipped with through that process to doing my own consultant work is nothing but God. And a lot of times I feel like when we're in this process of dismantling and discovery, it can feel like a breakdown, but really it is a breakthrough. Again, there have been so many gifts and new awarenesses that have come from this season of dismantling and discovery. Because not only did that happen at the church, but I also broke up with my former partner. Then we'd been together for 2 years during that time. And so it has been a season of also unlearning and learning that the way that people show up at times has nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with me. And to me, that gives me courage to continue to press forward in the work of healing, you know, and not only want healing for myself, but want healing for those that I'm no longer in relationship to want healing for my community, for my family, to want healing for the ancestors that are part of my lineage that are still in need of healing. All of that. We have much work to do, Dasha.
But we are talking about how there is medicine in your wound. What we know is that Jesus, all he told the man to do was to stand up, take up your mat, and walk. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. We got disconnected, but I had to hop on my phone because somebody needs to hear this, that there is medicine in your wound, that people are waiting on you to make the choice to stand up, to take up your mat and walk. You have a choice on if you will be made whole in this new day. And moment to moment, we always have a choice of what we will decide to hold on to. Whether we will decide to hold on to our wound or whether we will decide to access the medicine in our wound so we can heal. We have a choice. And as soon as you make the choice to heal, healing can be instantaneous. Healing can be immediate. I am making my own choice today to let go of some of the wounding that I've been holding on to that no longer serve me. I'm walking into a new narrative of healing and wholeness in this season because I know that y'all not only need me, but I need me. My family needs me to be healed and to be whole. There is too much work to be done with matters of justice for you to be selfish and not choose to be made whole in this season. It is your time. This is your day. This is your moment. This is your season to choose to be well. So the invitation today is for you to access the medicine that is latent in your wound. It is not the season for you to keep pushing it under the rug and say, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it next month. I'll get to it the end of this year. I'll make a New Year's resolution and I die. No, it is now. It's urgent. Your wellness is urgent. Your wellness is it has to be accessed each new day. It is time for you to develop a new language with wellness and healing. It is time for you to develop a new thought pattern with healing and wellness. It is time for you to develop new clothes of wellness. It may be time for you to get some new friends, some new community of people who are eagles that will support you in flying. Today is the day where you can choose wellness. Because there is medicine in your DNA. There is medicine that your foreparents had, that your ancestors have, that is in your bones. They are waiting for you to access your medicine. You can't access the medicine if you're continuing to blame people for where you are. You can't access the medicine if you're continuing to shrink and be small to accommodate other people's ego. You can't access the medicine if you're always judging yourself for where you are. You can't access the medicine if you're always comparing yourself against other people and their journeys. Your journey is your own. There is medicine in your wound, but you must confront your wound to get the medicine out of it. This is your time. I don't know who I'm talking to in this moment, but this is your season to choose wholeness, to choose wellness. This is your time. As verse 9 said in John 5, 1 through 9, that instantaneously, immediately was the word that was used. The man took up his mat and walked. It is time for you to take up your mat and walk. I don't know if your mat is depression or anxiety in this season. It is on the increase amongst Black and brown communities. If depression and anxiety is your mat in this season, it's time for you to go talk to somebody. That might be how you take up your mat and walk. If you've been in therapy for a while and therapy hasn't been working as a licensed clinician, I know that sometimes the healing comes from pairing both talk therapy and medicine. There's no shame in having to access medication in this season. You must choose to be well. I don't know if your mat is a relationship, a marriage that no longer serves you, where you've been trying to do the work and your partner is not showing up in the ways that you desire. It's time for you to take up your mat and not only walk, but leave. I don't know if your mat is a job right now that's toxic and you're holding on to it because of financial reasons. I don't know. It may be time for you to leave in this season and start your own thing. You may be restless in that job that is no longer serving you because you are your own institution. You are your own job. Maybe it's time for you to take up your mat and leave. There is medicine in our wombs. Future generations, present generations are relying on you to choose to be whole. So I'll end with the question that Jesus asked the man who'd been ill for 38 years. Will you be made whole? I love you all. Please choose wholeness because I need you. We need you. The world needs your medicine.
You are such a great healer. You heal in your speech, in your presence, in what you're doing, providing in KYND Consulting. How do you take care of you? You're doing all this healing work for others. What does those ritual practice look like for you?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I know after my experience with the church, I took a lot of time to be still and to be present with myself, to be present with this collective energy that many of us call God, to be present with my ancestors, drinking a lot of water. I try to get a gallon of water in a day. And, water, and I've preached a sermon about this before, there's something in the water. Water is alive. And 60% of the human body is made up of water. And because water is alive, when you speak to it, or when it hears a particular vibration, it changes the molecular structure of water. And I was reminded of this yesterday, looking at this shaman that I follow, Lawrence Jordan, that we are liquid crystals. And for those that are watching that utilize crystals in their own healing process, to know that you are in and of yourself a crystal should empower you to not only do what Jesus did, but do what God is doing through you. And to not look outside of yourself for something to come and save you, because you already have the salvific potential inside of you. And all you have to do is just be. So that is something that I try to center myself in, is that my whole vibration, and I'm glad that you brought it up, I want my whole vibration to be healing. I want that not only when I touch someone, but that when I walk across your path, you experience a shift. You experience a lightness. You experience your womb having some salve placed on it, just because you've been in my presence. So a part of that includes daily prayer too. A part of that includes my singing bowl and using that at times. A part of that includes having good community and good folk that you can laugh with and be honest with. People that don't hold you in judgment, but hold you in accountability, support, love, and integrity.
Say that again. Say that. I need you to say that one.
People that don't hold you in judgment, but hold you with love, accountability, support, and integrity, because that looks different than judgment. Jesus knew what was up when he said, do not judge people, because judgment creates a toxicity that keeps us from seeing who we are as human beings. I was reading this quote some months ago that said, I am another other. That when I look at you, I am another other. I am you. You are me. To be able to understand that interconnectedness means that I need to treat you well. Even if I don't like you, I need to treat you well. Even if you've mistreated me and been hurtful and harmful, I need to treat you well. And the way that my healing works is that I cannot seek out revenge. All I can do is operate in love, healing, and accountability. And some folks don't like to be held accountable. That is what it is. All I can do is hold you accountable in a loving way and hope that God covers it and believe that God covers it. But yeah, I think baths are important. Taking spiritual baths are important. That's another way that I stay grounded and centered. Also placing my feet on the earth, which I'm able to do more of here in the South. Yeah. That is always grounding. And having conversations, just like I'm having with you, with my ancestors. The way that I talk to you is the way that I talk to my grandmother and grandfather when I'm in my living room by myself. Like, this is what's going on. This is what I need support around. This is what I want to see. Let's come through. You have to have a cultivated relationship with the spiritual community. And for me, I understand that the spiritual community is a collective energy. I don't see just one entity. There are many. And so for me, those relationships have to be cultivated on a consistent basis. So those are some things that I do.
Because one of the things you just said is that this collective community, spiritual energy, you talked about earlier on your foundation of the Christian church, and you're talking about sacred bath, and you're talking about ancestral. How do you deliver all of that in a package to a people who only know God and Jesus, and anything outside, and only know the Christian biblical text, and anything outside of that is demonic? How do you package that? Or how do you educate? How do you inform? How do you dismantle and help them discover the divine in a new way?
There are two thoughts that come to mind, because it's such a great question. One is one spoonful at a time. I don't think you can inundate people who don't have a cultivated relationship with God in and of themselves, because most times people are just regurgitating what's been taught to them. They don't have any type of understanding of why they believe what they believe. The second thing is, for me, it's not my ministry to be in those spaces, to me, where I am surrounded by folks or in the midst of a congregation where people don't have an understanding of a larger reality outside of the Christian Eurocentric understanding of Christianity or God. For me, it's poignant that Jesus says, those who have ears, let them hear. I'm clear that the way that I commune with God and teach about that communion isn't for everybody. And I think that is sometimes the challenge with spiritual leaders that are within spaces where people aren't quite hearing them. Those just might not be your flock. Those might not be your sheep. I know that people who are attracted and drawn to my vibration are people that are also truth seekers, are people that are in this life for adventure and discovery, and are people that are open to being wrong. People that are open to being wrong and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And I believe that the way that we engage traditional religious systems doesn't make room for one to be in a place of discovery. Because sometimes you have to get it wrong to get it right. Woo! Look, Look, and I have gotten it wrong many times, and I will probably get it wrong some more. But I am clear that the path that I'm on is the right path for me. And that is my hope for everyone, that you discover what the right path is for you, that's not attached to what your pastor has told you, to what your imam has told you, to what your priest has told you, to what your priestess has told you, because there are also African traditional religious systems that function with fundamentalist thinking. It doesn't matter. That fundamentalist thought process is in all of our religious systems. And I believe that Jesus came to teach us how to be in relationship with God, with self, and with the other. That's unencumbered by a mediary. We have direct access. I know you didn't ask for all of that, but look, I
got it. And I just hope whoever is viewing this episode is getting it, get it. And if you watch it, you got to go watch it again, because there's so many nooks and cookies and just the juice that is pouring, the spirit, the goodness that is pouring out of this episode. Oh my God. I am so grateful. I mean, I have more questions.
Look, I'm scared.
I am a respecter of time and space, because I really believe that this particular talk is going to is shifting people even now as they play it and replay it. It is shifting some things. I love when you said those people who are connected to me are also truth seekers. And I was going to ask a question, but Spirit answered it right when I was about to ask it. I said, what is the gift of getting it wrong? And then you said, getting it right.
Hey, don't make me run. Don't make me run up in here. Look, I got space to run through. Look.
The gift of getting it wrong is getting it right. My God. Thank you, Kyndra. Listen, you always get me to this place. Sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Man. So again, Kyndra is my spiritual director. If you have not checked her out, Kyndra, this is a great opportunity to tell the folk your handles, all your social media handles, how they could connect with you, to get the services that you're providing. And you can be anywhere, because we're living in a digital world now. Please tell the folks where they can connect with you.
Absolutely. Please follow me on Facebook and on Instagram at Kyndra, that's KYNDRA, Frazier, FRAZIER, on Twitter at KYND Inc., KYNDINC. If you're interested in therapy or spiritual direction, please go to my website at www.KYND Consulting, that's KYND Consulting.com. KYND stands for Knowing Yourself in Need of Devotion. And if you're on Facebook, check me out every Monday at 10 a.m. for Movement Mondays.
Yeah, baby. Kyndra, thank you again. And if you want to know more about all that she do, I definitely encourage you. I mean, you want to get them talks. I mean, you want to make your week feel great. Go to is it Motivational Monday?
Movement Monday.
Movement Mondays. It doesn't have to be Monday for you to watch it. Go back and catch up on some old episode. It's always so good. I am grateful. I'm full. I feel like I can sleep. I can rest. I want to rest on what has been shared in this time, in this space. I am your host, Rev DeSaint, and we were sitting with Kyndra Frazier from KYND Consulting. Peace, y'all, and be blessed.
Peace.
This season of TTYL or Not is being funded by Independence Public Media Foundation and supported by Good Pitch, Doc Society, and Love Now Media. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, TTYL or Not, and click on notification for updated episodes.